God always has a plan. And although I was sad, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. They always teach you, especially as a woman, how to take care of others, but they don't really teach you how to take care of yourself. I lost my parents when I was 11 years old. I lost my house. So I associate the house with the stability of the family. That's what it's so important for me to help as many families. Help the person that you were when you were younger. Don't overthink. Things
Yeah.
are never going to be perfect. Every time you have an idea, do something now that is going to create a reaction. Trust, release, and delegate.
Hello and welcome to the Success Differently podcast. My name is Michelle Sorgaroli. I am your host today, and we are being joined by Claudia Cornejo. Now, Claudia is a business owner, an investor, and a top real estate 1% award-winning real estate agent. She actually did her undergrad at the Universidad, I always get that wrong, Universidad
Yes.
de Lima. Thank you for, for your patience, in Peru. And she started her real estate career shortly thereafter in 2004 in Washington, D.C. And today she leads a team who serves the Latin American community across Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. As you might imagine, Claudia is not a woman who sits still. She is driven, as I understand, by an insatiable curiosity and a deep
Yes.
desire to serve her community. She's an inspirational and dedicated family woman and professional who does everything in her power to ensure that those in her sphere of influence are both
Yeah.
empowered and thriving. Claudia, what a delight to have you here today. Thanks for
Well,
joining us.
thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. Thank you for having me.
Oh, this is such a treat. I know that you are a dynamic, hardworking woman, and you've said to me, I'm curious about this. You've said you work a lot and you're a hardworking woman. You're very,
Yeah.
very dedicated to that. And
Yeah.
at the same time, you value your freedom.
Oh, yes. And I think that was one of the major drivers that I had through my life. In order to have my freedom, I have to build without knowing it, because years later I learned why I was doing all the things that I was doing. But I was able to build a team, and then the insurance office and all the things. And yes, it's my freedom.
Absolutely, always going. So let's start back sort of at the beginning with your life in Peru as a young
Mhm.
woman, going to university, and I understand your degree was in commerce, is that right? In a business administration? Business?
Business administration. Yes.
Perfect. Tell us a little bit about that, about your story at that time of your life, and then we'll see where we go from there.
So basically, yes, I grew up in Lima, Peru, and I went to the University of Lima, La Universidad de Lima, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I felt that it was very safe to go with business,
Mm,
because in Peru it's a very old fashioned, so you have to have a career. So no lawyer, no engineering, business seems to be the right fit for me. So I did it. And something that I learned, which I still apply today, is processes. Because in the University
mm,
of Lima, in Peru in general, in that university, they the way they teach you is like you are going to be a leader. You are going to have your own business. Peruvians, we have a lot of businesses.
oh,
It's a lot
interesting.
about being a business owner. So, and that's also runs in my family. So one thing that I learned is about the processes. So we have different classes, and was about engineering. And it was so amazing how they gave us this project, and it says, in order to get to B, you have to do this and that. And I love it. And well, I applied later on that in my business, and I'm sure there's other things that I learned that it also helped me to get me to this point. But that was one thing that I will always remember about the university. Those were fun times. And but a little bit going back, I mean, I lost my parents when I was 11 years old, both of them.
Oh, so
Yeah,
young.
yes. So I was extremely, and I have a sister, so I'm extremely
Mm,
close to her.
mm,
So when I was in the university and about to finish my career, she decided to move to America.
mm.
So for me, it was, oh my God, what I'm going to be doing here? I was doing good, and I have a sales job and I studied in the university and all that. But I said, you know what? I want to be close to my sister, because for me, family is one of the most important things.
Mm.
So when I finished the university, back then she was living in Seattle, Washington. So I went to visit her, and I said, oh, I like America, but it's too rainy. So I decided to go to the DC area and stay there. So once I finished the university, and also I mentioned that when I was working and study at the same time, I had a sales job.
Uh,
And that's where I learned all my traits about sales.
Ooh,
It's
okay.
very, very interesting. I was very lucky to have someone that taught me how to read people, how to break the ice, and all those things. And like I always tell my kids, I mean, all those things that you learn is not only because you're going to be selling a product, you always
Yeah.
sell yourself. So
Mm,
those are always the skills. When you're applying for a job, when you work, when you go to meetings, those are the qualities and the traits that you need to learn. And don't see it as a negative because we tend to see the salesperson and because we always use those skills. So then I moved to the DC area and I start real estate and all that. Mhm.
amazing.
Mhm.
Wonderful. I'm curious about, first of all, yes, being in the Seattle area. I'm in Vancouver, Canada, as you know, and yes, it does rain a lot here. So I just want to acknowledge
Yes,
that.
I've been there once.
Yeah, it's like, oh, sometimes you wonder, but nonetheless. So you were in university and you really respected processes, is what I heard.
Yes, yes.
Processes heavily influenced you. And then you ended up, was your first job in sales? Is that what happened? Or was that during university or
Yeah,
before?
no, yes, it was during the maybe the last 2 years of the university.
Oh, that's so interesting. So you were learning about processes in a culture that really promotes entrepreneurship and owning
Yeah.
businesses, right?
And the funny thing is, this is very funny. So I used to have a job in a bank, and I would used to make back then $200 a month. So I would have to save because it was a part time, with people from the university, because I was in a very good university. So they go there just for fun. So, but $200, I had to save the whole month if I wanted to buy an outfit. So it was not much, okay?
Yeah.
But it's okay because we were doing it just to do it on the side. Something happened and I have to quit. And I was a little sad. Back then I didn't need to work because my school and everything was paid. But I was a little sad, but I got used to working. So it
Ah.
was so fun. And so then I started looking for a job. And then I see this newspaper. Back then there was newspapers. And, and and I said, "Do you want to make like $3,000 a month?" And blah blah blah. And it's like, "Oh my God, that sounds appealing." So I went to this interview, and they hired me. Little that I knew, they hire everybody because it's like the traditional
Mhm.
salesperson's job.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I was so excited. I went back home and I told my aunt, and my aunt, "Oh my God, you're going to this nice university. What are you gonna be doing selling these things?" And it's like, just let me do it. And I did it. And the first week, I think I made $500 and all that. And yes, I was selling English courses.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I really definitely learned how to sell, like
Yeah.
from cold calling and all those things. And yeah, and I was making good money. But in my family was in the first year, it's like, oh my God, Claudita, you shouldn't be doing this kind of jobs. And then when they start seeing all the money, it's like, Claudita, how you are doing all this, you know? And what I love about that, and we talk about freedom,
Mm,
is because I will only have to be in the office from 9 to 11. So after that, I will do I schedule my
yeah.
appointments. I will go to the university. I will go out and have fun and party because
Right.
remember back then I was very young. So yes, so I've learned because I had freedom and I was able to work and then later on take care of my sister and all those things. Yeah, so it was a blessing.
Oh,
Mhm.
I would imagine going
Yeah,
from I would imagine there was a great deal of change at that moment in your life with
yeah,
just
yeah.
perspective of what was even possible.
Oh
Having come from
yes.
the banking job and having $200 a month and moving
Yeah.
into a sales position where you had, it sounds like more time available to you,
Right.
greater
And
income potential, and
yeah,
obviously you were earning those rewards as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and later on, shortly after, things happened in my life. So I was forced to live by myself and with my sister. So I always say that God always has a plan. That's what all those things happen. And and although I was sad when I lost the bank job, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, back then,
Mm,
right? because I was able to, with that, I was able to pay for my apartment, for my university, my sister's university, and all those things, and had the freedom that I always like.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
So you've referenced a few times you were very young. You were 11 years old when you
Yeah,
lost your
yeah, I was.
parents.
Yes.
And then you were, I heard maybe that you were living with your aunt. Is that right?
Yeah, my aunt moved with us for a couple of years. So it's very interesting how we get traits from different people that influence us in life. My father used to study all the time. He was an engineer. He has two different masters, one's in the United States, one's in Peru. So he was always learning. So I learned that trait from that.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was the social one. So she was a social one. And the reason what I'm saying that is because usually engineers tend to be shy, right? They focus on their work. So my mom is the one that learned English, that he will do all these dinners, and that's what helped my father to escalate in life, right? So those are
Mm-hmm.
different skills. And then when my aunt came, my aunt is a very, very hardworking woman. She went only to high school because back then she was the youngest and my uncle was going to be the doctor, so there was no money for her to go to school. So she wanted to be a lawyer.
Oh.
And she's a little lawyer in her heart, believe me.
Aw.
But she worked so hard that she built businesses, bought hotels, and did a lot of different things. But it was through very hard work. She used to work long hours. So I learned that trait from her.
Mm.
Mhm.
What did you learn? As you were learning that and having that modeled for you, those specific traits, what what was important to you about those traits at that
I guess
time?
as kids, we don't really analyze more. We are like
Mm,
sponges that we just get those things. But I saw that in order to get things, you have to work hard. That's it.
ah,
That's it. She will wake up. Back then, she used to have a little restaurant. So she used to wake up at 4 a.m. to go to the market, and then she worked long hours. Then she come home very late, and then that's when she will make sure we did our homeworks. In Peru, it's very common to have help at home. So we used to have help. So the basic
mhm,
needs were covered back then, you
mhm,
know.
mhm,
Yeah, but I saw her like just working hard, and that's it. And she was able to achieve things. Back then she didn't have that much. It's
mhm,
built with time. Yeah.
mhm. It sounds like you had some very strong role models as a young
Yeah.
woman. Mm.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
As
And
you
she was
think,
a very, very strong person because since she didn't go to school, she's a woman and she's short. So sometimes she had to it is especially in a very machista culture, she
hmm,
has to act in a certain way. So which is now we know like our masculine side, right?
right.
She had to go out of her feminine side to go to her masculine side. So she used to teach me all those things,
Mm,
which are things that I was able to use when I had my business here in the States. Mhm.
mm. Can you expand on that a little bit more? What do you mean when you're speaking about the masculine side and the skills you had to draw
But
on?
there were a couple of things that I learned. One thing that she used to say is like she said, you need to clean the house. You need to learn how to clean the floors. Remember, we used to have help. So I
Mm,
said, why do I need to do that if I'm going to have help? And she
mm,
said, because in life, you need to know how to do things. Because then other
mm.
people will come to you and will say, oh, I cannot do it. And since you don't know how to do things, you'll say, okay, and you'll take that for granted.
Interesting.
That I learned that, of course, not for
Mm,
floors, but in business and
hmm,
at work, I'll do it all the time. If someone comes to say, "Oh, that's not possible," believe me, I'll always find a way to do it, and I'll show it to them, and then that's it. So those are little advices that she gave me. It was sometimes like, "Oh, when the man comes and talks to you hard, is because he wants to belittle. You have to stood up and be straightforward and blah blah blah." That was another one that I used for negotiations,
hmm,
especially with men. And things like that. I mean, another thing that she taught me when she came to America to visit me, she said, Hija, you are living very large. I came to America and I started making money in real estate. So I thought that was the American dream. You just come and make money, right? Then she said, you always have to save, in Spanish, is save bread for May. no? Which means there's good times and there's bad times in business.
Mm,
So you always have to save. Oh my God, she used to save so much. Even until now, she saved too much.
mm.
But I said, you know what? I'm gonna listen to her. And that was a perfect time because that was right before 2008 when the real estate market crashed.
Oh, wow.
So she has given me those very simple advice, but when you apply them, I mean, they really help me.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so yeah, as you think about your story, from the from being in Peru with those influences of your culture at that time, and then moving into the States, as you said, things were a little different here and lifestyle was different. What did you notice when you came to Washington and started your business? What were surprises that maybe you were learning it by coming to a different culture?
So it's very interesting. Most of the time, all the things that I've decided to do, I didn't put too much thought, which is it has its pros and cons. But one
Mm,
of the positive things is if you overthink what is going to happen, you're going to be afraid and you're going to stop,
mm,
right? So when I start in, okay, remember I used to sell English courses, right?
yeah.
In Peru. So and then I came to America and I said, and I always been a very independent woman. So I said, you know what? I was living back then with the father of my kids. And I said, oh, I want to work. And although he'll take care of the things, it's like, but that's me, right?
Hmm.
And he's like, okay. So back then I went online and I found a job. And he says, do you want to sell the, no, do you want to make blah, blah, blah? Oh my God, it was exactly the same thing when I saw the newspaper in Peru. I couldn't speak any English back then. So I went to the appointment and I saw the presentation. I saw answering, I mean, the same, like at the end of the presentation of the product, they will always ask the same questions. They will always be the same answers. And I said, oh my God, I did this in Peru. It's exactly the same thing in English. And I can learn everything by heart and repeat things like a parrot. I said that. Okay. So I came home and I said, this was selling knives. And it was only a $3,000 knife. It was Catgo.
Ah.
So I said, I can do this. So I came home and I told the father of my kids, look, I'm going to be selling knives. And he just laughed. And he said, if you're going to sell something, sell a house. Let's see if you can do that.
Mm,
So I
mm.
said, okay. Of course, it touched my ego, which sometimes we need sometimes those little pushes in life, right?
Mhm.
So I said, you know what? I'm going to prove I can do it. I signed up on the class. I couldn't. I mean, I was able to read English because in the university you're always reading, right? But yeah, so I did that. I was the first one in the class, and which surprised me. I thought I was going to
Mm,
fail the class, but I was
mm,
studying hard. And then after that, I got the license, and shortly after, I moved by myself with my daughter. But so that was a very interesting thing. And what I what I like about the DC area is that I was
mm,
Latina, but
mhm,
there were Asians, there were Indians,
mm,
and there were Americans. So we all spoke our broken English. So I
mhm,
was fine. And I
mm,
applied the same rules.
mm,
I learned everything by heart. I will call and I will always ask three questions because it's always the same thing. I mean, it was always the same thing. So, and then I will always ask for help. So there's always people that guide me. So in this case, I had a lady that she helped me with the contracts and the whole thing. But it was meant to be. My first transaction, I received a lead. It was three in one. He was selling his condo to the cousin and he was buying a property. So it was a blessing. So yes, so I started after that the referrals and all those things. And yeah, there was times that things were hard, when there's things that happen with the lenders and the loans. And a lot of the times, I remember the advice of my aunt, they will call me like the bully and they start yelling. And I understand now why the
mm.
people were yelling or upset because it's nothing personal necessarily with me, it's their personality, right? But back
Yeah.
then I didn't know. So I stood up and I went through all those things. Those were very long years where I spent a lot of time on my masculine side.
Mm,
And but it helped me to build my business,
Mhm.
and it got to the point that it was too much. So my sister started helping me, and that's when we started the team. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was uh, 2015, 10, almost 10 years ago. Yeah.
In 20, oh, nice. Okay. So,
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying this journey and the threads that are coming through it. One of the things that kind of triggered me just a moment ago, and alerted me, not triggered, alerted me, was you said there were always three questions. They were always the same questions, and you could do that. Um,
Right. It's different questions in everything, but in real estate, but you don't need, what I learned is basically you don't need to talk too much and have a whole conversation.
right,
It's just to make it simple, simple.
right.
One, two, three, directly, very direct forward what I need. And again, follow the process, always call, then send a text, and then,
Yeah.
and yes, and
So,
it's always like that.
interesting. That's what was coming up for me. There's those processes again that you valued so much. You've, highlighted that a few times in this conversation where
Yeah.
where your love for processes that was really born at university, if you will, as you got that
Yeah.
exposure, it's sort of finding its way through your entire story. The other thing that I noted was back at the bank when you were earning your $200 and then you were exposed to this sales opportunity and you could
Hmm.
make more money efficiently through sales.
Yes.
um, you were exposed to that possibility and you stepped into it. The other thing I
Yeah.
noticed was when the father of your children, when he exposed you or challenged you, if you will, with the idea of we'll sell a house, not a knife. See how that
Yes.
goes.
Yeah.
What I'm really capturing here, Claudia, is you jumped into that possibility very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, does that resonate for you?
100%. And then when I started the team, I remember I met with this broker, which I didn't know back then. I was the number one broker in. I'm telling you, I'm being very lucky and blessed. God puts opportunities right in front of me. So I met this person, and he's like, but they get a bigger percent of my commission. So that was one thing that I wanted to negotiate.
Mm,
And when I sat with him, he's like, ta, 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 and he gave me a good deal. This is what I can offer. And I said, okay, sure, let's do it. And I was sitting right next to my sister. That's when we would just start the team. And she's like, don't you need to think about it? No, sounds like a good deal. I'll do it. And that was the best thing ever because I learned there, I was surrounded with very successful teams.
mm,
So and the reason why I decided to do this meeting with him, going back to processes, because I was out on a dinner with friends and I met I was talking with this guy. He's also a real estate agent. And I said, you know what? I would love to find, I know it sounds bad because in my head back then it sounded bad, but I would like to create processes for buying a house. But I feel bad because for me, helping someone to buy a house is such a personal process. So I don't want to feel like it's like a process, but I will be more efficient and I will be able to help more people. And he said, yeah, that's what this broker does. Really? So after that he got me curious, and I went there, and that it was the number one brokerage for teams in the DC area, and I learned from them. I also learned that they were always very generous with knowledge because I used to believe that I have to keep all my knowledge to myself, and so nobody stealing my ideas, right? And they were always so generous. It's like, do you want a listing appointment? Do you want this? Do you want to do that? And it's like, oh my God, it's so yeah, I was with them for 1 year and a half. They made me part of the leaders group, and then after that, I needed to keep growing, so I hired my own coach and I moved, and yeah. Mhm.
Something shifted for you just now in this conversation. I'm curious about your energy changed. What are you thinking about now? Can I be curious?
No, well, I guess if I start like digging inside, what is it? I guess it's because it's also the time where had to step out of the business. That's the beginning
Mm,
where everything changed. Because in order to grow, I couldn't keep doing like every day. Like back then, I was still doing the listings, but that's the beginning, when I disconnected from being someone in production and being a solo agent to become just at the end of the day, what I am is the face of the business and overseeing the business. And it's very different. And sometimes I miss the everyday interaction with the clients. That's what I like to do my buyer seminars, because I need that. I need that interaction with my clients.
mm, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah,
It's very
there.
different to be a boss than to be on the field.
What
Yeah.
from what perspective are you offering that?
Well, because now I focus a lot and I like it too very much, but it's
Mm,
just very different. So I'm looking at numbers constantly. It's just
mm,
numbers, 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 and hitting goals, and how can I improve the business, which is all needed. Because
mm,
now I'm not only helping my clients, I also help the people that work with me, the people that trust,
right.
right? So yeah, but sometimes I just want to be with them, like, I don't know, just talking. And when they tell me all their stories about their kids and the life,
Well,
it's just different.
you're very
Yeah,
social and obviously very caring. I can see that in your eyes as you're
yeah,
thinking
very
about
much.
this.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
And you even alluded to that earlier when your driver for creating processes, what I heard was that it
Yes,
was so that you could help more people. I believe that's what you said.
yes, that is true.
What is so important about that for you, Claudia?
I get emotional.
Okay.
Okay. So when my parents were 11 years old, when I lost my parents when I was 11 years old, shortly after I left my house, I lost my house.
Mm,
So I associate the house with the stability of the family.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Oof. That's what it's so important for me to help as many families.
Mhm. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got emotional.
It's okay. Take a moment. It's a very emotional moment. And it
Yeah.
just gives so much deep meaning
Yeah.
to your work.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. I was able to do it in a different way now because I understand that things are different now and I can help in a different scale.
hmm
So that was also very beautiful when we went to Africa and we were able to help a couple of different schools. And and it is not only because I'm always learning. So I was in a retreat I was in Mexico City with my coach. She had a speaker, Rory Baden. And so we were very lucky to have a private time with him, a very small group of 10 people. So I asked him one thing because I said, how do you, because I was working on my why and so many other things that happened in my life. And I said, how do you motivate someone that already has the money?
mm,
Right? So when money is not a motivation, when like, and he said, because the motivation, it has to be changed from a what to a who. When it's a who, it always be there. And it makes completely sense because my driver, my major motivation for all these years were my kids. And
hmm
now they're in college. So I
hmm
said, I need more than
hmm
more, give me more. And he said, look, what you have to work is help community and contribution. That I also learned that through Tony Robbins. Okay. Okay. And the way you do it is you go and help the person that you were when you were younger. That was so beautiful. Because when I was in Africa, we were helping kids, but we were helping
hmm
kids. So they have these combined families. So in a family, there's 10 to 12 kids. And the reason is because there's a lot of AIDS. So the aunts have to grab the kids or, these combined families,
Yeah.
you know, uh, and the kids, so the kids don't have parents. So that was the reason why I like it so much. But I didn't understand that until I talked to him. The homes is the same thing. I lost my home. So that was
Yeah.
me. And so in Africa, I was very touchy because you see the kids working all day. I mean, breaking stones, and so when you help the school, it's not really for them going to school. It's a place where they are gonna receive clothes, where they're gonna be receiving food, and they're gonna be spending most of their time. And in this case, they're teaching the kids a trade. I was in Zambia and Zimbabwe, and what they are doing them is teaching them English, so at least they can work in the tourist area, and that. So that's what fulfills my heart now. And when he said that, it just touched me because I know what is where I need to go, where I need to work more. That's my new why.
Mm. So it's just to articulate what I'm understanding, I think your new why is to help children and families. Is that right? With
Right.
their homes and finding
With their
their
homes. Right, but
independence.
not only that. So in real estate, my why would always be the same: helping more
Mm.
people, having the stability, building those.
Mm.
I love when I do my events and I invite them over and they tell me all the stories and all the beautiful things in the house and all that. But also, my other why, it's going to be help other kids that not necessarily are in America,
Mhm.
but they can have a better life.
Mm.
Yeah, and that is even a bigger why than my real estate. Yeah.
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 Well, helping the person you when you were younger. That's such a
Okay.
powerful statement. I haven't heard that before. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Yeah.
was Rory's. Yeah,
It's
he's a very
brilliant.
smart guy. Yeah.
Yeah. You spoke to motivation, and it's such a great
Yes.
question to be asking. How do you find motivation when you have enough money, if it's not about the money anymore?
It.
One of the
Mm.
things I talk about a lot is actually nuancing the language between motivation and inspiration. We tend to use them very similarly, in a casual language, in a casual way. For me, how I like to think of them is motivation feels like something we're moving away from. We're motivated to get out of a burning house. We're
Mm.
motivated to avoid a consequence of some kind or to not have something happen. So we move and we're pushed forward almost, by something we're wanting to avoid. Inspiration, on the other hand, feels more like an internal pull towards possibility,
Mm.
where we're
Beautiful. Mm.
you know and
Yeah.
it's more future focused,
Yeah.
and it's also more possibility focused in terms of what are we being pulled towards as opposed to what are we avoiding or running away from, right?
So that's what Tony says. When the pain is so much is when we decide to make the change.
Yeah, that's motivation very
That's why it's the
often, right?
motivation.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
an interesting thing because you made a really good point where that can be very motivating. Like you said, you were wanting to build stability for your kids for so long,
Right.
and now your
Yes.
children are becoming independent in their early 20s,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it's like, oh, okay, well, now what do I do? And that
Yeah.
original source of motivation, which was really pushing us forward, right? Because we were
Right.
wanting to avoid a negative consequence. Now we sit here and think, okay, well, now what? Now what do we do? And we have to shift it
Yes.
to being more of
Yeah.
an inspired pull forward.
Right.
And I think that happens for a lot of people.
Mm.
And they run out of
Yes.
that motivating force. They get ahead of that motivating force and they're like, okay, I've dealt with that now. So where do I go now? What do I do?
Yes. That's been my journey for the last 3 years or so because I've been blessed to have good people that help me in the businesses. So the businesses became independent and the kids became independent. So it was now time for me. And it's funny because they always teach you, especially as a woman, how to take care of others, but they
Yeah.
don't really teach you how to take care of yourself, So it's been a very interesting process, and it's so beautiful now when I look back,
Oh,
It's so,
yeah.
so beautiful. Yeah. And I
So
have my new inspiration.
right? Yeah, it
Yes.
is inspiration. It's really
Right.
pulling
It
you forward.
is.
We
It
saw
is.
that. You were so deeply touched when you were thinking
Yes.
about what's
Yes.
pulling you forward and making your
Yeah.
life meaningful. That's
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
This is something I see a lot in my client work as well, is that most of my clients are at that place where they've kind of run to the end of their motivation and they're kind of going, now
Mhm.
what? what gives my life meaning, what gives my life more depth and more substance
Yeah.
and makes it more fulfilling in a different way because I've satisfied that other piece. Um, so as the piece I'm seeing for you as well, Claudia, is you talked a lot about your masculine side, and then your sister joined you, and you said that was about 10 years ago.
2010, 2015. Yeah,
And
November 2015.
yeah, and I'm curious, is there any correlation between your sister joining you and you're starting to lean more into your feminine side?
Not really. I completely forgot my feminine side until I went through the last 3 years of search.
Ah, okay.
Oh no, I was so masculine.
What do you mean when you say that? I'd love to hear more about that. And then what about how
Even
did
to
it
the even
change?
even to the point that I used to have uniforms. My friends are like, really? Yeah, it's always my blazer, my black this, my jeans, and this and that. And I have, yes, I will never wear skirts. I will never wear flowy things. I was always like going, 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 pushing, 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 a problem solver constantly. I went through all this search, and one of the things that I did is I became a platinum member with Tony Robbins, and we went to all these different trips. And then I started seeing masculine, feminine, and then turns out I started spending more time in Florida and Miami. And when Miami girls are so feminine, like we are talking from Washington, D.C., girls don't use makeup, nothing, no heels. And then you move to Miami, which is the completely opposite,
Interesting.
100% Latin culture. So I reconnected with that. And Tony says that a woman will feel feminine when it's surrounded by men that are 100% masculine. So that's what I started seeing, because here the men are more masculine. They are like, they open the door, they carry things. In the DC area, you're always proud. I can leave this. I can do everything by myself, by myself, by myself. And here is women doesn't have to do all those things. That's why the man is to help you. You don't have to
Mm.
be. So I start seeing all that, and I start living here, and so I spend time in DC and here, and I start seeing the feminine side. So I
Mm.
started liking it, because in DC also I was surrounded by my friends, but they were most of them very masculine because they own businesses, always under a lot of stress and things like that. And so I started seeing that. And then Tony, I went through the platinum year. We learned about the feminine side, the relationship, and this and that. And I was able to see so many different things and open my mind in so many different ways, like owning business, working remote, being able to, because I have to this whole belief that you always have to be in front of something in order to create, and how you can delegate, how you can grow. And then I started learning about multifamilies and different investments. Well, I like to learn. I'm always learning. I learned a lot during that year too.
I bet you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. You made a comment. You said by moving by moving to Miami or spending a lot of time in Miami, you commented that there's a lot of Latin culture there,
Hmm. Yes.
and it's almost like there's a reconnection with.
100%. 100%. 100%. I reconnected with my warm side, my caring side, my living life slower.
Mm.
Because the first year was a struggle in Miami because people were doing everything too slow for my standards. And people were talking too much for my standards. And no, and then I started liking it. And I
Mm.
said, that's, and that's also, that was the first 20 something years of my life were like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's a long
So,
time.
yeah, so it's like, I like this. I
Mm.
like this, and I can be more feminine. I don't have to be, it was like creating a new life. It was so beautiful. And then also I went to Dr. Joe Dispenza. And then after the first retreat, it's like I create a new person with through the it's like a 7 days where we meditate 7 to 8 hours a day. and we work a lot in ourselves. So it was so beautiful, and you really live in a different state, like
Mm.
creating a new persona. So all those changes came. So when I created a new persona, it was more caring, having more calm life, a, peaceful contribution. It's just been a beautiful 3 years.
I
Yeah,
can see that just
yeah, yeah,
in your expression.
yeah, yeah.
What has
Beautiful.
been, it's been a beautiful 3 years. What has been your biggest learning through this journey of rediscovering your feminine side?
You know what? There's power in being a feminine.
Mm.
We tend to believe that in order to be strong and conquer things in life, we have to be very masculine.
Mm.
We don't have to. We can be very feminine, and it's even stronger sometimes, you know. And you don't have to change your sense in order to build whatever you need to build. But that's something that they haven't teach us. They teach us it has to be this in a certain way, and a lot of those are just masculine traits.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's very interesting what I was noticing. Thank you for that. I think um, what I was noticing is when you moved to Miami, you were in a different environment, or when you spent more time there, you were in a different environment. And I think most of us, when we're in our environment, we're not necessarily aware or
Mm,
conscious of the
right,
influence of that environment, particularly over time.
right.
As
Hmm.
we adjust and change and become part of that new environment, it influences who we become and how we
Yes,
behave, right? It
yes.
influences so much of that. And as you know, you actually commented on that at the very beginning of this conversation around at the university. You were in a university where it was and a culture that was very entrepreneurial by nature around business owner and processes were really strong. So that influenced how you were learning and influenced things that you were taking in, right? Then you move and DC is that driver personality, if you will.
Yes.
Um, and so you do, that continues to reinforce some of those things that are inside of us already. And now in Miami, you're seeing different things bubble up, parts of you that were in there, but perhaps dormant.
Yes,
Does
yes,
that
yes.
resonate?
100%. And also, I'm so blessed and lucky to be able to enjoy this.
Mm.
So now that I look back, I love every single part of my life and all the things I went through because that made me today.
Mhm.
It's so beautiful. So sometimes we say, oh, I don't want to go through this, I don't want to go through that. But in order to grow,
Yeah.
we need to go through things in life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's
Hmm.
beautiful wisdom in that statement, being
Yeah.
grateful for your past. And your
Yeah.
past had some challenges in it, especially as a young person. Mm.
Through the whole, I remember one day I did like I was talking to someone and they did this card based on the time when you were born and all the planets and the whole thing. And he said, and the guy said, "Oh my goodness, you went to elementary, high school, and the university all together in the same time." And it's like, yes, I had to go through a lot of growth,
Ah,
and and that's my life.
yeah,
That
that's
is
your
my life.
journey.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about the gifts, you've said many, many times that you're blessed and you're lucky and
Oh
there's a lot
yes.
of goodness. What has allowed you, do you think, to be coming from that perspective? Many people might not have that same lens on their
Oh
life.
yes. Yes.
What has allowed you to, or influenced your ability to bring that frame to your life, Claudia?
I think there's a couple of things. Definitely, I think I after I went through my childhood, I kind of put a bubble around me, and so I wouldn't be so hurt. So even
Mm,
certain things, first a bubble definitely it really helped me back in 2008 when the real estate market crashed and everybody was so negative, and I decided to put again the bubble. That helped me to start again. And so that is one thing. Just try to see, and so I tend to forget the negative things.
Mm.
And I guess that originated back when my parents died, because I have to, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to go through
Mm-hmm.
life. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to try to just forget the hard feelings, emotions, and the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that was one. And the other thing I think is becoming an entrepreneur, because if I'm not positive and I don't believe, nobody else will do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Even when hard times now we go through some, I mean, like this COVID came and we thought it was a unique year. And then the next year, something else happened and something else happened again. And it's like, oh my God, I keep saying this is the last year and something new happened. So it's, in my team, sometimes I get concerned and stressed and frustrated, which is normal,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always seeing all the positive and I see how it impacts them. But of course, if I'm not the one that is positive, who is going to be?
Mm.
So that
Beautiful.
is my role, and I think that's the role of any entrepreneur in order to succeed, because we're going to go through ups and downs in our business.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be positive and keep pushing and keep pushing.
That's
Mhm.
gorgeous. Thank you. You said you put a bubble around yourself. I think that's to protect yourself, I think is the language you used. Is that
Yes,
right? Yeah.
yes.
Interestingly, that bubble, there's from my perspective, as I'm hearing you, what's coming to mind for me is that
Mhm.
this bubble to protect yourself also creates an environment in which you can um, both protect yourself and also honor yourself inside it without
Mm,
so much external influence coming in. That bubble
yes.
can be very interesting, both from a protection side, but also from a possibility side, because you're removing the noise, removing all that other stuff out there that can influence your perspective of
And
life. And
yes, and most of the time, I have worked from home most of
mm,
my life, because first of all, because I get bored so easily. So I work for a couple hours, then I go have to do something else, and then I have to do something else. But another thing is, first of all, yes, it's sad to say this, but there's so many negative people. So much of that noise, it's so negative. We have plenty. We just go to social media.
yeah.
Oh, that's another thing. I stopped watching news back in
Hmm.
2008 when the real estate market crashed, because I said I cannot keep putting so much fear and all that noise in my head.
Right.
So that's when I decide to start working from home, because I had a
Yeah.
beautiful office in Tyson's overseeing this and that. And I said, no, that's it. I'll go
Hmm.
from home. I create my own life, my own reality,
Yeah.
and that helped me.
Yeah, having learned how to do that at a young age, you were able to do that
Yeah,
and understand the influence of it. So that bubble is just an invaluable way to support
yeah,
ourselves. Um,
yes.
in some ways, it gives us a growth opportunity as well. You also said, I forget the negative things and really focus on whether it's an intentional forget or a practiced focus on the positive. But
Yes.
that ability to see the positive and to forget the negative is really helpful. And you said early on in our conversation, you don't think too much. Don't think too much. You said to be an entrepreneur, you just got to take that action and continue reaching forward, and you believe in yourself and reach into your possibility. Don't think too much or you'll stop.
Right. Well, because I used to do it, just do it. But then when I
Yeah,
went through Tony, that's what he always said. Don't overthink. Things
yeah,
are never going to be perfect.
yeah.
That's what stops people from succeeding in life.
Mm,
And what he always teaches is, every time you have an idea, just create something that is going to create more action. Okay, you have an idea, send an email to someone, call someone,
mm,
send a text, do something now that is going to create a reaction and it's going to keep everything moving. And you know what? Even if you don't know much what you're doing, but you are committed to do it, because that's another thing he says, you have to burn the boat when
mm.
you decide to do something. You know what? You are gonna
Yeah,
find the way to do, especially nowadays, we have so much information and we're not the first one doing
no,
anything.
exactly. That's beautiful.
Mhm.
So, Claudia, just a question for you. We've been talking for 45, 50 minutes, something like that.
Wow,
Yeah, it goes quick, hey? It's
I
so,
know.
so much joy. Thank you. As you're
Thank
reflecting on our conversation today, what has stood out for you?
you. It's amazing, but having this conversation gave me a lot of clarity in all the things that I've done and how I see things. So, although I'm sharing with you, I'm learning so much at the same time about
Mm.
myself.
What
Mhm.
has been, thank you for that. What has been a learning for you today?
The patterns that I repeat, Tony always talks about patterns
Mm.
and how we do it. And I can
Mhm.
see the patterns. I can see the drive, the strength, and the growth that I had through life. Because it's not that every day I talk to my for almost 49 years old. So it's like all these 40 plus years of life. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah. I always
Mhm,
find that interesting. Thank you for sharing that. How our story, from the time we were small, it has these continuous threads through it. And we often don't make those connections. We don't see that continuity of our story. It presents in different ways, but it's generally there because it's part of who we are. These little threads, right? That
mhm,
really capture us. So, thank you so much. I've just so thoroughly enjoyed this. Um, I just wanted to ask you another question. As you think about who you are now and being a
mhm,
leader for your teams. And I'm sure we're going to have people listening who are much, much earlier in their career, maybe just starting off.
mhm.
What if you were to give advice to your younger self, that woman who moved to DC, just
Oh,
starting off? If you might give advice to your younger self as a budding entrepreneur, what might you highlight as a
what
piece
I
of
will
wisdom?
tell my at least the young real estate agent when I used to work so much and so many hours and delegate.
Mm,
Don't control so much. And something that is important to know, nobody will do things the way you do it, but
mm,
they will do it good in their own way and sometimes even better than you. So trust, release, and delegate. Because if I wouldn't have known that, my life wouldn't have been way easier and I wouldn't have waited 10 years to build a team. Yes. And yes, it's just, in the beginning, it's going to take time to train the
mm,
person because it will
mhm,
take time, but it's totally worth it.
mhm.
And just be in peace that no, they will make mistakes and nobody will be like you. Oh my God. They used to put even a wall between me and my sister because I couldn't even let her send an email without me reading it. So much
Mhm.
control. And now as she's like, now you can delegate everything. Oh, I love it.
Actually, I have a question on that because you love delegating. This is a big thing. We could do a whole other conversation on this, but I do want to just pick up on that for one sec. What do you love about delegating that you might like to share with our listeners today?
Freedom.
Ah, there we go.
Let's go back to my freedom.
That's where we started. You love working hard, you do work hard, but you also love your freedom, and that's how you
Love
find
my
it.
freedom.
That's gorgeous.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Claudia, for those people who would like to connect with you further and maybe learn from you and perhaps give you the opportunity to help them find their new home, where might they be
Yes.
able to find you?
Well, my website it's claudiaassociates.com. But of course, if you just Google my name, Claudia Cornejo, Virginia, they can find me. And I've learned so much through this last 20 years of my life. If someone wants some direct advice and have questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm always very happy to share my knowledge.
Well, thank you for sharing you with
Mhm.
us today. It's
Thank you.
been an absolute joy and lots of beautiful
Uh,
nuggets here within.
uh,
Thank you, Claudia. We'll
Thank you
see you
so
again.
much,
My
Michelle.
sincere
Thank you.
pleasure. Bye for now.